Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about how to write consistently when your circumstances are not ideal, when your schedule is hectic, your personal life is chaotic, when, it's just not possible to go to Starbucks or go to your, bedroom studio and, just hole yourself in for 6 hours and just do nothing but write. Which for most writers, for most artists, that is about 99% of the time. Like right now, I flat out do not feel like filming this video. So this is this is a perfect time to talk about this. And it's not that I don't want to put this video out or that I don't care about the channel. Of course I want to put the video out. I think it's something worth talking about, and I love interacting with you guys on the channel. But it feels like 100 degrees outside, and I have a bunch of other things to do for my job. It's just a hectic week, but I really believe that it's important to be consistent as a writer. So literally some of the things I'm going to be talking about today are what I'm using right now. Real quick before that, if you're new to the channel or anything like that, hi, my name is Dylan. Welcome to Under Reviews. I talk writing and writing analysis and creativity and music on this channel, which you probably already kind of got that sense. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you'll probably vibe with this video. So let's just jump right into it. So the main thing that I'm finding in my creative process, and I've talked to other artists who've experienced the same thing, is that when you are juggling a really busy work schedule, personal life, there is just so much going on. And when you really commit to a artistic project of any kind, what happens is that you can't avoid sacrifices. Something gets sacrificed. There's really only so much time in the day. And when you're pulled in so many different directions, you have to know yourself to know what sacrifices you can afford to make. When I talk to people that are struggling to actualize whatever creative project that, they want to work on, the number one thing that I find personally is that there's something off with their workflow. It's not necessarily about technique or skill. There's something wrong with their workflow that is incongruent with how their brain works, how they process, and what they value. I really think it's a psychological thing. I think so much of the creative process is really mental, and it's really learning yourself and what you value. I really truly feel like 25 to 30% of the creative process is the hard techniques and the skills. The danger of making the wrong sacrifice when you're committing to a creative project is that you've given up something that you really truly care about and brings you a lot of joy, and now you are placing pressure on this creative thing to fill that hole. And if it doesn't fill that hole for whatever reason, if you're having a hard time with it, if you're coming across writer's block, it hurts that much more. And then it just creates this really uncomfortable, unfortunate tension that sucks the life out of this thing that you originally loved. That's one of the main things that I found with other people and I found with myself, because obviously when you have a busy schedule, especially if you're a student, the whole name of the game is it's like time management. This is, 5 tips that you can do to make your day more efficient and blah, 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 and all these things, right? But if you are managing your time in a way that actually makes you less fulfilled, 9 times out of 10, you're going to set yourself up for failure. Time management is important, but you have to know how to make it work for you. So when I say you have to know yourself, let me get a little bit more specific. So generally, I think there are kind of 2 kinds of workers, and then obviously, of course, like everything, it's a spectrum. So most people fall sort of in the middle. There's people that are kind of on the left, people on the right. But generally speaking, there's typically 2 kinds of profiles. The person who can, block everything else out and mega focus and commit, tons of hours, and they're the type that will be up all night working on it, and they will grind it out until it gets done. And if other people are trying to schedule plans with them, or they have other personal obligations or other work obligations, it just feels like a nuisance, because they're like, I just want to focus on this one thing and give all my energy and time to this one thing, and everyone else is getting in the way of that, right? And so then there's the other kind of person who works in spurts, and their motivation is in spurts. They can't work, 8 hours straight and not need to take a break or not need to step away from the screen, step away from the page, go out, hang with friends, like consume some other form of media that inspires them. These are the kind of people, and I am one of them, where they have a lot harder of a time saying, okay, hey, partner, hey, mom, dad, friends, I'm going to be busy for the entire weekend because I'm going to bury my head in the sand and just grind this project out. What does work for them is really genuinely completely disconnecting, taking a step back, going out or doing something inside that, is completely unrelated, kind of procrastinating the project a little bit. When they take that step back and, get that emotional fulfillment from some other outlet, they're able to come back to the project and give it the attention that it needs. And of course, everyone can be these two people, and most people, of course, fall somewhere in the middle of the spectrum. But generally speaking, your natural bent is going to go towards one or the other. And what you can see is with both of these two archetypes, there is gonna be a sacrifice somewhere. From the super focused kind of like workaholics point of view, you're sacrificing on some, relationships, you're sacrificing on, maybe focus that you put towards your job or your studies or, just, other creative projects. And of course, on the opposite end, for the person who, genuinely needs to have all of these things going on to keep them emotionally fulfilled, to keep them sane, to keep them motivated to, work on their creative projects, they are sacrificing on time. In most cases, the person who does clear their schedule out and commit 8, 9, 10 hours to that project will probably get more done, and it'll probably be more thorough and all of that, right? And so for the person who can't do that, right, it might take a little bit longer. They will have to be comfortable with saying, okay, because of my schedule and because of the things that I have chosen to invest in with my time, I only have 4 to 5 hours to work on this project. Or it's like, okay, if I really, 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 really want to get this done, I'm going to have to sacrifice on sleep. Like, there's always going to be some sort of, thing that you're giving up. And once you accept that and then figure out which one works for you, it'll make your workflow so much easier. The second that I stopped trying to force myself to work 7 hours, 8 hours, cancel plans, was the second that my music took off in terms of how quickly I was able to make it, how comfortable I felt with it. Because for a very long time, I was taking writing advice, online and watching these different videos and things like that. I was taking advice that didn't really fit me, and I didn't know that at the time, but I did not realize that psychologically I don't have the makeup to do the, clearing out my schedule and hyper focusing on something on a regular basis. There's merit to both approaches, and there is like a time and place for each, but generally speaking, if you're taking the artistic approach that actually doesn't fit what really actually works for you, that's where you're more likely to come up against those feelings of frustration and writer's block, and when that pressure really starts to build up of where you're like, it's been so long and I've been working on this thing for so long and it's not moving anywhere, and I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to make it happen because I've got so many other things going on in my life. That's when those things kind of start to creep in. So I think the first thing, and this is kind of going to be my primary point, but I do want to talk about some other things, is that you have to know what sacrifice you're okay with making. So like I mentioned, these other points I'm going to spend a little less time on, but I do still think they're really important. So the second thing that I want to talk about just for a little bit when it comes to writing consistently, staying motivated when you have a lot going on in your life, personally, professionally, whatever it is your artistic vision, and how at times you may need to compromise on that just a little bit, like just this much, because I am very much a believer in write what inspires you. So don't dumb it down, but there are 100% times where you do have to be honest with yourself and say, can I actually pull off the thing that I'm trying to pull off? Do I have time to write a 500-page novel? Do I have time to make an album with 20 songs on it, a in-depth concept that is all well written, well performed, and well produced? Do I have the time and resources to actually make that happen? So what helps me kind of conceptualize this idea is actually thinking about how TV and movies are made. Like when, you know, a movie or a TV show is starting out, like in pre-production, and, you know, like the writing stages, and, you know, you're getting your director hired on. There's all these grand ideas, you know, just the scope is like, you know, sky high, right? And you just have all of these really good intentions and really great ideas. And then the studio executives are like, okay, you don't have the budget for that. We couldn't get this actor. We couldn't get this set. Yada, 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 right? And so what happens is, in order to get things done, in order to get things made, you're constantly having to make compromises, not just with, you know, like time, like I talked about before, but also creatively. And so what I would recommend is that if you are finding that your idea is maybe not practical right now, I would do either one of two things. Hold on to the idea, because if you really, really believe in it that much, it will come out eventually because you're motivated to do it. I would hold on to that idea until you feel like you have the means to be able to do it. Two, I would consider, you know, doing some of the things that really interest you, whether they were conceptual, thematic, sonic, and this applies to any form of art, right? Doing some of the things that you wanted to do, just not all of them, but enough to kind of keep you engaged and kind of to fill that, you know, creative side that is not at all thinking about the practicality of things. I'll use myself as an example. The last video that I did where I broke down Manger on McNichols by Boldy James, I wanted to have a completely original score. Like I wanted to have this whole thing. I wanted to have edited, interspliced clips of Boldy and Detroit and make it this really cinematic thing. And then I was like, I literally do not have the time to do that. And that was really disappointing. So what I did to kind of keep me motivated to make this video, because my expectations were here and then I realized they were gonna have to come down here, so I lost my motivation to make the video. The little thing that I did, and it was just for me personally, because a lot of people haven't even really mentioned it, they may not even know that I made the music for that video, is that I made a very quick and easy instrumental loop. I didn't make a whole score for a YouTube video. I just made a loop that I still really liked. It still gave me the ability to express myself creatively and kind of put my own artistic flair on something, and I still feel like it fit the video. And now when I go and look at that video, even though I had to make some compromises, I'm like, that got done, and I feel like I still did it in the way that I wanted to do it. I just may not have been able to do it at the scale that I wanted to do it on. Number three, and I'm not gonna spend too much time on this either, because I'm tired and I wanna go to sleep. When you're short on time and short on resources, it is okay to emulate the people that inspire you. And again, just do it in a way that can fit your means and resources, but it is okay to do that. I was someone, and I know a lot of other artists are the same way, when they're starting out, they're like, well, I don't want to sound like this person. I don't want to sound like that person. I'm really inspired by them, but I don't want people to call me a copy or blah, 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 blah. There's been discussion about this before. You've probably seen videos about it before, but it really is true. It's okay to emulate when you're starting out because you don't have that much to work with to begin with. And so it's honestly better to get really good at emulating a sound or style. And if you know yourself and you're honest in your writing, your personal vision will naturally start to develop through that process. Just remember why you're writing what you're writing. I really should have led with that, but it's really, really important. If you know why you're writing what you're writing, that will kind of help you figure out, okay, what kind of like touch points of other artists and other forms of media that inspire me, which ones does it make sense to go to right now? I think that made sense. In a lot more simpler terms, I would just always ask yourself this: if you're getting stuck or you're feeling like maybe your art is sounding too much like someone else or whatever, I am writing this song because I want to express what? That's it. And if you don't know the answer to that question, take the time to figure it out. But when you answer that question and you stick to it, everything else falls into place. and it just kind of helps you know where to go. And that doesn't mean you can't experiment with other styles or other concepts or other different things, but for the current project that you are working on, just remember why you started that project and what was the driving force. Anytime that I start veering off into a totally different creative lane, you know, in the middle of writing my project, I'm like, nope, come back to earth. I don't have that much time to screw around. That idea on the side that I just thought about is really cool. I will get to it after this project. So I think it helps with keeping like focused and disciplined and all those things. It's just knowing why you're writing what you're writing, so you can also draw from your inspirations. And you know, when you pull all those things together, and if you draw from enough individual inspirations and you don't just focus on one artist, you'll sound like you, which is eventually, you know, what all artists want. But yeah, those are the 3 things that I think will really kind of help. I mean, there's way more than just 3, but I do think that these 3 things are kind of more like mindset based, and like I said, they're kind of more intangible, and you know, you can do them anywhere, anytime. They're really just kind of more about how you think about your writing and how you think about your creative process. And so when you use these in tandem with all of, you know, like the hard skills of like, you know, learning how to produce a certain thing or learning how to write a scene this way or blah, 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 you'll be good. Don't worry about it. You'll be absolutely fine. If you really, truly care about your project, it will get done. And also something to think about, if it's not getting done and you really don't, you know, you really find that you don't care about it, maybe it's not meant to happen. I don't know. Just something to think about. If you like this video, I do a ton of different videos on writing analysis, you know, writing tips, lyrical analysis. This style of video is a little bit more newer on my channel because I'm not talking directly about music. So if you like this video, if it helped at all, please let me know, because I love talking about stuff like this. Have a great day. Good luck on whatever you're working on, and you can do it. You can do it. Okay, I will see you later. Bye.